Alright guys, here's the video that you've been waiting for. It's the transmission fluid and filter change on the Montero. There's a Montero right there. I did it yesterday, I'm uploading it today. So sit back, relax, grab a cold beverage and enjoy the video right now. All right guys, we got it out. It just kind of dropped. So good morning guys, your friend Jim here with another video. First of all, I want to say welcome to the Mitsubishi Montero channel. Welcome to all the new subscribers out there. Greatly appreciate you guys. Please like and share all my videos and comment if you have any questions or comments. Please go ahead and proceed with that. In this video, as you saw by the introduction, we're going to talk about the transmission service. We're going to do a complete transmission service on the Montero. And last time I did this job, I did this video, I did it in Spanish though, and I only did the fluid, not the filter. But in this case, we're going to change the fluid. I'll show you how to go about that, and also we're going to change the filter. In other words, we're going to remove the oil pan. When you do that on the Montero, it's not like other vehicles where you have the pan, you drop it, change the filter, put it back on. In this case, there's another step that we have to do before we are able to remove the pan. We have to remove this cross member, this support member that goes underneath the transmission. But it's really not that complicated. It's doable. We'll do it. Not a big deal. I'll show you how to do it. And pretty much it's only, I think, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 bolts that you have to take off. And it drops down, but obviously when you drop that item down, you have to support the whole powertrain system, because that's the main support for it. So you have to do another support. But anyway, let's get to it, guys. Let me show you. Oh, thing here. So let me show you the items that we are going to need for this job. So there's a Montero right there, looking pretty. We'll lift it up, we'll do all the rest right now. But basically what we need for this job, we need about 6 quarts of fluid. I have 8 here, so I have a little bit extra, but we only need about 6. If you're gonna do a flush, you need 6 more, so you'll need about 12. We do have the filter here and the gasket. I got this from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Seems like a pretty good part, I guess. I don't know, we'll try it out. And every time I do a transmission service, I always like to add one of these guys, the instant shutter fix. And this stuff seems to work pretty well. I have confidence in this stuff because before I did the service on the Montero the first time, I did have that shutter issue, and I added one of those additives, and it pretty much took care of it. So now every time I do the service, I just add one of those as part of the service. So that's my recommendation. So I just took it for a quick test drive just to get it nice and warm and, you know, run it through the gears and everything. So right now let's go ahead and put it on the ramps and get to work. All right, so at this point, got it up on the ramps. Normal, it's up to temperature. Gotta let it warm up a little bit so the fluid can drain better. So right now we're gonna remove the skid plates, and I'll show you how to remove the fluid. All right, let's go from there. But before we do that, let's put on the shop coat. Safety first, guys. Also, when you have the vehicle, every time you lift the vehicle, have it up in the air and you're about to go under it. Let's say you put it on the ramps just like I did right now, or if you have it on jack stands, anytime you lift the vehicle, you have to give it the safety test. You gotta do this. Make sure that it's on there nice and tight and nice and solid. Okay? No vehicle in the world is worth your life. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and proceed. I'm gonna put the camera back over there. All right, guys. So, see this little hose that makes like a U-turn? We have to remove the bottom part here, point it downward into a bucket of sorts, and then start the engine for about a minute until fluid stops coming out. And that's how you drain the fluid out of the Montero. But let's take a look at the repair manual, just so we can do a little recap on what they're talking about here. So basically, the repair manual, let's go over some of the steps here just before we get to the actual work on the vehicle. Let's just go over some of the items here. Burnt smell: if fluid is still contaminated or burnt, repeat steps 7 through 8 before proceeding to step 8. Okay, instructions are kind of weird, but basically, when you get the fluid out of here on step 2, step 3, you check it to see if it has like a burnt smell or cruddy, or maybe if it's got water. If you have contaminated fluid, then they want you to do a flush, which means add fluid, run it again, drain the fluid out again. That's basically what they're suggesting to do. All right, guys, so we're gonna proceed with the work here. We're gonna remove the hose as mentioned before. I got this bucket here. I got it at Lowe's. I like this bucket because it's a 7-quart bucket, probably a little bit more. But when we drain the fluid out of here, we're only gonna see maybe, you know, like 5 or 6 or something like that. Also, for this step, I like to use a zip tie, just one zip tie, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna disconnect this hose and then point it downward, and we're gonna hold it with the sway bar to the sway bar with a zip tie. That way, when you go and start the engine, it's not shooting the fluid everywhere else. So let's go ahead and proceed with removing this guy, and I'll show you here how I'm gonna do that. All right, so now we know, we got the zip tie right there. Now we know that fluid, start the engine, it's gonna shoot right into the bucket. All right, so I'm gonna put the camera here. You guys take a look at that. There we go. All right, so it started the engine, put it in neutral, and here's the fluid coming out. As soon as it stops flowing, I'm gonna turn the engine off. Okay, so stop flowing. Got about five quarts of fluid in there, in this bucket. Still dripping a little bit, but not anything significant. So now we have, at this point, we have to go and remove the drain plug from the pan and get the rest of the fluid that's in there. But before we do that, you know, one of the things you need to do is get a little sample of fluid, make sure it's not cruddy, burnt smell, or anything like that. So let's take a look at that real quick here. All right, guys, so we're gonna check out the fluid here on this white napkin here. So I'm just gonna sacrificing one of our spoons here from the kitchen. So this fluid is not very old, that's why it looks in really good condition. But if you were to check this out, you would make sure it's not cruddy or anything like that. You would put it on a white sheet of paper and compare it to new fluid. If it's really brown and really makes a big difference, well, here, let's show you here. So I put some right there. I'm feeling it with my fingers, I'm looking at it. There's really nothing wrong with this fluid, but you can compare it to new fluid. So we compare it to new fluid on the white piece of paper. You can see there's a little bit of a difference on those two colors, but not too much. See, so this is still red, a little bit red. That one is a little brighter. That's the new one. So at this point I would say this is normal. If it was really brown, if it looked like engine oil, then I would probably do a flush on it. But also there's another thing you can do if you're having shifting issues with your vehicle. Maybe water, there's a leak in the radiator, in the cooler lines. Maybe water went into the fluid and it's causing the clutches inside the transmission not to grip properly or anything like that. So you also may want to check your fluid for water contamination. So the way you check your fluid for water contamination is you put it in a spoon, and then you get a lighter. Come on. Get a lighter and you heat up your spoon like this. And water boils at 212 degrees. So if there's any water in there, it's going to start boiling. But if there's no water, the fluid is just going to get hot and hot. You can see it's already smoking a little bit. So I know that this fluid is not contaminated with water. So, okay. Now here's a sample of fluid that is contaminated with water, and you can see what this test looks like. Okay, so we got a little bit of fluid in there. I know this fluid is contaminated with water quite a bit, but a lot of times you can't see it. If it's too much water, then it looks like a strawberry milkshake. But if it's just a little bit of water, you can't tell if there's water in there. You'll just have shifting issues. So if we do this test, then it's going to look something like this if it's contaminated with water. As you can see, the water is starting to boil. See the water boiling and popping? That's how you know there's water in your fluid, right there. All right, so that's one few tests that you can do when you get your fluid out. You analyze it, make sure that you do these tests before you proceed. So right now we concluded that there's no water contamination. The fluid is not cruddy or smells burnt. So all we're gonna do is proceed with replacing the pan. I mean dropping the pan to replace the gasket. Okay, so here we are. Here's the drain plug. So get our 17 millimeter, crack it loose like that. We shouldn't have so much fluid out of here. Maybe just a little bit. Yeah, see? Just a little bit. And we do have a magnet here at the tip. There is some metal particles, which is completely normal. Now under the pan here, once we get it down, you'll see it better, but we have 3 circles. Inside those 3 circles, there's 3 strong magnets. Basically serve the same purpose as this one. Now this one doesn't come from factory. I added this magnet on there. Same thing that I also did that with the oil drain plug. So we put this one here on the side, and once again, guys, we are gonna have to remove this cross member here. All right, guys, and also when you do this job, you get to use the little jack that comes with the Montero. So I'll show you how you use your factory jack to hold the powertrain up while you remove the cross member over there. So you need, basically what I do is that you need a couple of these 4x4s by about a foot or 10 inches, whatever, and then put one at the bottom, put one at the top, and then hold everything up. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and set that up and I'll show you guys. All right, guys, so we got the little jack here supporting the powertrain. It's pretty sturdy here. So you don't want to put it too far back. You don't want to make sure it's kind of sideways or anything. Just make sure it's strong. So now the next step is to drop this guy here, and then the pan. So we need some we have two 14s here on either side, and then we have to disconnect the mount, the transmission mount, which is the two bolts coming in from the top, and then two nuts right here. So let's go ahead and proceed with that. Alright guys, I had to lift it from the back as well, just to get a little more room here. Alright guys, so these bolts that go from the top, that come in from the top, there's a little bracket right here that the one on the passenger side, it doesn't allow you to take it off from the back. You have to take it off from the front, but it's the opposite on the driver's side. So here, alright guys, this is it. Probably better to use a jack down here. It's not that heavy, but I gotta hold it with my right arm while I take the last bolt over here off. So if I had the jack right here, it would be much better. There we go. Ooh, something fell. Oh, it's got a little bushing there. Okay. So there, so it's got these little bushings up here. One of them, when I was taking it out, one of them came off. Not a big deal, I'll put it back on. But as you can see, this piece here, not super heavy but not super light either. And we have these on the motor, on the transmission mount. We have these bolts that come to the bottom, which kind of serve as a guide when you're putting it back on, I'm thinking. But if you have to, if these rubber pieces are really messed up, then this would probably be a good time to replace this piece as well. In this case, it seems like they're in pretty good shape for a 20-year-old vehicle. So, but if I did have to replace it, this would be the time. It's just two bolts down here, and then just slap on a new one, and that's it. Okay, so let's proceed with the pan. So I'll go ahead and get the proper tools, and we'll start getting the pan out. I'm really hoping that the tube, the dipstick tube, where it detaches up here, it's not really complicated to do. So let's go ahead and proceed with that. Alright, so that's all the bolts there. Obviously, fuck, I need to get some goggles. Okay guys, so this pan is really stuck up here. So one way to do, one thing you could do, you know, you don't want to start beating on it or anything, but you can get a pry bar, put it right on the edge like this, and then hit it with the mallet, and not too hard, and little by little it'll start digging it out. right, guys. we got it out. It just kind of dropped. So, woo! But we got it down. Whew, man, I'm getting transmission fluid all over my face. All right, so here's the pan. We're gonna take it to the bench. As you can see, the little tube that holds it on there, it just came right off. It's not really that on there that tight. But there is, I can see it over there. Pretty sure there's, it's just kind of in there. It's kind of pressurized in there. But here's the filter. There's all the solenoids over here. So we just gotta clean the surface really well. Let it drip here for a little while. I'll bring the other pan. So let's take the pan to the bench and let's see what we got. Dang it! This tripod is all full of fluid. All right, let's see here. Alright guys, so I got the pan on the table here. So we do have some fluid left over in here. And it looks like we're panning for gold. There's some metal particles there. So as you can see, the magnets, I'll show you a little closer here once we get some of this oil out of here. This fluid. But we do have the 3 magnets that I had mentioned. You can see, you know, they did their job. They're filled with little tiny metal particles. See that? Same thing with this one. So, and then there's some metal particles there as well. So we're gonna have to clean all this up, clean everything, clean the magnets, put the gasket. Obviously this does not have a gasket. It's got sealant that they use at the factory, but we might use some sealant and the gasket just to make it more to make it a much better seal. All right guys, so let's go ahead and clean this up a little bit. So you got the magnet here. You can see this magnet's pretty bad. Let me get a napkin, paper towel. You can see it's just full of metal. Clean it up a little bit. And actually, before I clean up all these magnets, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the filter off. But let's see. Alright, so let's get the filter out. Alright, so we're going to continue to clean this pan. I did remove the filter. As you can see, it's pretty dark in there. But you know, I don't know if that's normal or what, but anyway, this filter, there's 150,000 miles on this filter. And as you saw, the magnets, what I noticed is that these magnets are not very strong magnets. I think that's done on purpose because the solenoids are right up here. So, you know, solenoids obviously work on magnetism, so you don't want any interference there with the magnets. So, because I was thinking I should upgrade these magnets and get the stronger ones that they have at Home Depot, but I'm just gonna keep the original ones because it might interfere with those solenoids. So just leave it at that. Anyway, so I'm gonna continue cleaning this pan. All right, so we got the pan bolted down, screwed down here to this piece of wood, straight piece of wood. And yeah, we do have a little bit of a gap, right here. So we got to hammer it down right here with a piece of wood or something, or a mallet, so we can go back to the straight position. And maybe a little bit on this side. No, not too much. A little bit on this side and on this side as well. This one seems pretty flat. Oops, you guys fell. Anyway, so all right guys, so get the pan clean, super clean, straight. The corners are straight because remember I told you when you pry it sometimes you bend this a little bit. So now we have the clean magnets. Here's the magnets that go inside the pan, and then you can see where they go. You know, so we have these circles. We have one here, here. So we have one right there, right there. Again, as I mentioned before, these magnets are not the strongest magnets. I know there's stronger ones, but I think Mitsubishi did that on purpose to prevent it from interfering with the solenoids. So, okay, so this pan is pretty much ready here. All right, so now that we have the pan cleaned up, we have to come down here and work on cleaning the surface here. Now this we have to be a little bit more careful because this is aluminum, so we can't go scratching it up. We can't go with the wire brush too hard. But the best way to do it is with some kind of a plastic spatula, and just start lightly, gently removing the silicone out of here. Okay, so look guys, so we have the valve body here. It's pretty accessible. We have all these solenoids, you know, so a lot of times if you diagnose your transmission, a lot of times you can come in here and maybe swap something out, check ohms on one of these guys or whatever. And if also we have all the pressure ports right here, so if you need to check pressure on any of the hydraulic circuits in the transmission, you can check the pressure here. I know there is I believe this is a line pressure adjustment screw, so if you have high or low line pressure, you adjust this guy. But anyway, that's something for another completely different video. So let's continue on here. All right guys, so now the little bolts that bolt up the pan, you know, they're all full of silicone and stuff, so you have to clean them up really well before you put them back, because it might affect your torque when you're torquing it down. And you know, you want to do this right, because you don't want to end up with leaks after. And then this stuff, I'm gonna see if the Dremel can work good here. I'll pull out the Dremel. So all right, yep, Dremel works pretty good for this. So I'm gonna do the rest of these guys with the Dremel, and as you can see, it cleans up really good compared to that. See, so I'm gonna do the rest of them. All right guys, I'm back at it. I actually took a little pause because I had to go to Harbor Freight to get some more of these guys for the Dremel, little wire brush. This one was running, it was kind of worn out here, and I have a few more bolts to go. I have these to go, and they do get pretty clean with the Dremel, so we're gonna keep on going with it. All right, guys, so we're putting the filter back on, and it's super simple. We just have this tube, and it goes right in here, and we get some oil and just kind of lubricate it a little bit as it's going in. And then we have the two bolts, one here and one over here. So pretty simple stuff. So this just goes like that, snaps right in, and it's got the two bolts. Hand start it first, and we have the socket right here. Not too tight, just good, a little snug. Normally I would torque this, but it's just the filter being held on, so it's not a big deal. Okay, so we have everything clean. We do have a little bit of oil that continues to kind of drain out a little bit here. So I'd like to put everything back on with zero oil here, and then after I clean it up with brake cleaner. So, but it's always inevitable. You're always going to get a little bit of oil there. So let's move forward and see what how we can go about this. All right, guys. So we're gonna, like I had mentioned, I'm gonna use this stuff here because if you take a look at the instructions that came with this gasket, it says no need to use any silicone, no need to use anything like that. But it also says don't use a wire brush on here, and that's exactly what I used. So it's a little scratched up and everything. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use this stuff and just go from there. As you can see, I got the new magnets on there. I'm gonna clean this with some alcohol right all around here. Put a bead of this stuff on there. Put the gasket. Put another bead on top of the gasket. Clean the bottom of the transmission surface area, and then so this side keeps dripping a little bit, so I'm gonna wipe it again, and it gives you a few seconds or maybe a minute or something before it comes back down. But wipe it again, clean it with the alcohol, and we have a clean surface. Okay, now let's get the pan and put it on. Okay. There we go. That little tube has to snap in there. Alright, so now evenly and slowly we get all the bolts in here. Take your time. The silicone, it's still not dry, so it's still kind of fluidy, and we don't have to rush it. But and then also you don't have to put them all the way in yet until you at least start all of them. Alright guys, so we got this little torque wrench. It only goes up to 9 Newton meters or 80 inch-pounds, and the spec is 98 inch-pounds or 11 Newton meters. So I'm gonna go to 9 and then just give it another little snug. I mean, how accurate does it have to be, right? And then here we're just gonna have to go. First I'm gonna go halfway, boom, halfway. Okay, and it's a little bit tricky to keep track of the one you've done and the one you haven't done. So probably it wouldn't be a bad idea to get one of those little markers and maybe do, when you do the first step, do 1 dot, you know, all around. Do the second step, do the 2 dots. That way you know exactly which one you're doing. This little torque wrench actually works pretty well. It's the one that I use to do the timing belt. You know, when you have to do the pre-tension on the tensioner on the timing belt. This is the torque wrench that you use for that. But it's working really well for this. I also used it for the valve covers. All right, guys. So that's it. So we got the little pipe inserted up there. I didn't remove the dipstick. I think it helps with the dipstick still on there to kind of guide and kind of know that you're going in the right direction. But everything seems to be normal. I got all the bolts torqued down to the proper spec according to the repair manual, and everything is on there. I do have, obviously, when you do this job, don't forget to put the filter in there. Don't forget to put the 3 magnets in there. I still have to put the dipstick, the drain plug, and obviously the cross member here. So let's go ahead and work on that, and we'll be done with this job, and then add the fluid and we'll be done. All right, we're almost done here, guys. And also don't forget to put the little hose back on. Remember this guy? So don't forget to put that back on. Like that. There we go. And then this guy, let's see if I can do it with one hand here. All right, so let's put the drain plug back on here. I always have the little magnet on there. The vehicle doesn't come with this magnet. I added to it just for extra protection. All right, this is the 17. It's a little snug there, nothing too much, not too much. Okay, so these are the 2 nuts that go on here, and when you put the cross member on there, we're gonna use these 2 to hold it up there while we put the rest of the bolts and stuff on there. So let's go ahead and grab that bad boy. put these guys right here so I can easy to grab when I'm getting ready to put. All right, so okay. Oh, you know what? Remember that bushing that fell off? So I gotta put that guy back on there. There, all the bushings are in place. Okay, so okay, I got that one started. This is one of those jobs where you wish you had another hand. But, or you could also use a jack, but you know what? It's not that big a deal. Okay, so now both of them are on there. At least they're holding there. This is Valvoline ATF +4. It is it does meet the specification for the Mitsubishi SP3. So this is what I used last time, so I'm pretty sure it's okay. And also, before I put the last oil quart, don't forget to put your additive in here. And then I put it before the other one, before the last quart, because the last quart fluid can just flush the rest of this down there. So that's the only reason why. So this is number 6. So I'll put the dipstick back in here, but we're not going to check the level right now until later on. We'll test drive it, let it reach normal operating temperature, then we'll recheck the level. Transmission fluid level. Okay, so number 1 is that the vehicle has to be on a level surface. Obviously my driveway is coming down on a little bit slope here, So I jacked it up so that the front is level. See? So now I know that this vehicle is on a level surface with the jack. And then basically you start the engine, put it in neutral, run it through all the gears, park, reverse, neutral, drive, and then leave it in neutral, and then let it get to normal operating temperature. Preferably drive it for a little while before, and then it's very simple. Obviously, get your dipstick, clean it, put it back in. Transmission fluid expands when it gets hot. That's why you have a different level when it's cold compared to when it's hot. Now my level, I don't want to bend it too much, but my level is right on the second little notch here. So it's within the hot margin. This is the hot margin, and it's on the top part of that. So I'm okay with that. Too little fluid is bad for the transmission. Too much fluid is also bad for the transmission. Both cause air bubbles in the system, and in a hydraulic system, air bubbles are not recommended, are not good. So make sure you check your fluid level when you're done. If it's too high, then you have to remove the drain plug and let a little bit drain out, and then check it again. So that's basically how you do it. All right guys, so we're pretty much done with this job. I added the fluid on there. Now I'm gonna take it for a test drive. Oops. I'm gonna take it for a test drive, come back, make sure there's no leaks, put the skid plates back on, clean the driveway, and we're done. This little guy did his job. Proud of it. Alright guys, well this concludes the video. Thank you so much for watching. For those who stayed to the end, don't forget to please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And let me know if you have any comments or questions or anything like that. Alright? Thank you guys so much. See you on the next one. Thanks. Bye.